I'm Brian Van, sportbiketrackgear.com, and today we're going to install the FT ECU Clutchless Auto Blipper Downshift device, right? This is going to allow us to downshift the R1 without touching the clutch or blipping the throttle. I've already had a video out there where we reflashed the ECU using their proprietary software and bench tuning kit. It was really easy to do, great performance upgrades, but this is going to really complement that, and it's going to take the R1 to the next level. When you look at it, essentially what we do is we have a combination, right, of two quickshift sensors. End of the day, they're going to be working in both directions. This is going to allow you to use this in standard or GP shift. Okay, at the end of the day, all you're going to have to do, as I see it, is just flip the connectors. Very simple stuff. If you look at the length of this, it is preset. Okay, it is going to just take the place of the factory quick shift sensor. What do we need to do to change this? How complicated is it? Okay, it comes with what you see here. I downloaded the instructions right off of their FlashTune website. We've got one cable tie, one piece of shrink wrap, and then it also comes with a product activation card where you need to scratch off to get the activation code, okay? We will need to reflash the ECU again to enable the auto blip function. So we're going to do all that at one time. First thing we have to do is get the ECU out of the motorcycle. Remove the side plate. And then we have the secondary cover for the ECU. I'm running a stock harness. I'm not going to put a kit harness on this. I don't see the need for a kit ECU, especially with the upgrades that are available through FlashTune. There's really no need for it. And I'm not racing, you know, at any high level at all, just pretty much track riding the bike, so there's no need for me to do that. Got our ECU exposed. We'll go ahead and slide it out. Let's get it unplugged. This is the connector we're going to be working on. We're going to be replacing one of the pins. We're going to be backing one pin out and then covering it with the shrink tube, shrinking it down so we don't have any corrosion or connection issues. Then we will be inserting this into the stock ECU harness to take its place. Once we have all this installed, we'll flash the ECU and we're going to be good to go. The connector for our stock quick shifter is right here. Simple to access. And in doing this, now, you remember in days past, you know, you get a motorcycle like this and you're getting a track ready and you want a quick shift and all these features. You're putting on boxes, you're putting on Bazaz units, you're putting on dyno jet pieces, and this stuff, it was nice, it worked great, it offered features that were before just simply not available, okay? Now, with the folks over at FlashTune, you are able to modify the motorcycle without replacing or adding hardware, which is really pretty sweet at the end of the day. Go ahead and get some of this stuff out of the way here. Just trying to make a nice hole to access all this. Push this over. We're going to go ahead and remove the stock quick shifter. Loosen that up. I'm going to come up here. I'm going to take the shift knuckle off. Just going to allow me to spin everything off of here quite easily. Really excited to get the R1 out to the racetrack this weekend and use this new feature. This is going to be pretty sweet. The bike is already amazing. This is going to be next level for sure. Go ahead and spin this out of here, and then I will install the FlashTune pieces. When we come back, we'll be working on the ECU harness. Okay, when installing this, it's a simple mechanical operation here at the end of the day, but a couple of tips, right? First thing is shift knuckle in relationship to the shift rod. You want to see about a 90-degree angle here, okay? That is going to give it, put it in its best possible mechanical position, right? So the mechanical advantage is everything that it should be, and it shifts as smoothly as it should. So that's number one. Number two, when you're threading all of this together, you want to make sure that you strategize and that you have an appropriate amount of threads in each area, right? An appropriate amount of the threads from this heim joint into that quick shift sensor, okay? And then that will be in a position where we'll just be able to snug that up, okay? Your shift rod adjustment down here, same thing. You want to make sure you have an adequate amount of threads in there so that you don't have it adjusted in such a way that you only got a couple of threads in there, and then when you're out riding and you get the stress of shifting, it ends up pulling it, because remember, this is aluminum, okay? So it's not as strong as the steel, and if you only got a couple of threads holding it, it could pull apart. So be cognizant of that beyond that very simple operation. Plugging it in, that is equally as simple, okay? We're going to plug this right into the stock harness. That fits great. Now, here comes the part where we're going to need to work with our ECU connector. Your instructions are going to be a vital component of this. Look at them, look at the pictures, really digest this stuff before you begin working on it. I'm going to show you the approach that I'm going to take to get the wire out, the new wire in, and then of course we're going to have to make some provisions for, routing this through some of the harness to keep it safe, all that stuff. We're going to begin by removing the stock ECU wire. I want to make sure that I've got good clearance back here, okay? We're going to be able to get it through. I may have to remove this holder, but we're going to start with the lock. And this is what actually locks the terminals into position. Definitely do not want to damage this. Pry that down quite easily, right? I'll reinstall it, and then I'll show you one more time on camera. Small flat-bladed screwdriver, you can come up here, push down. On either side, you can hear it release. Okay, make sure it's down all the way. Then, what we want to do is we want to get the proper terminal and remove it, okay? It's a 3-row connector. We've got the white plastic tab released. We are looking for position 4, right? And it is the blue with green tracer, okay? And this is going to be our position 4 wire, blue with green tracer. We've got the lockout, and it slides right out. Very easy to do. Now, also very important, let's pay attention to how this was oriented in there and make sure that we slide the other connector in there the same exact way. Okay, what I did is I actually routed the wire up through the protective boot that covers the connectors underneath. And then I'm going to route it behind one of the ECU harnesses and then in front of the one that we're going to be installing this in. And I should be able to secure this quite nicely when I'm done. Now we once again want to locate position 4. It's right here. We want to make sure that we have this going in exactly as the other came out. Make sure I get that turned in the right direction. That kind of guides it in place. Make sure the locks are still disengaged, and you can feel when you slide it in there, it engages positively. Next step here is to put the locks back into position. You actually hear and feel them click positively. I'm going to just grab the wire and just kind of give it a couple very light tugs, and I can feel that it's held in place. Next up is going to be shrink wrapping what we have here so we don't run into any issues. If you see what I did there, I actually folded the wire in half and go ahead and slide that shrink tubing up there. I've got a mini torch over here. I will use that to shrink this down. Very basic operation here at the end of the day. Go ahead and shrink this down, get it to seal up nicely. At the very end, kind of pinch it off like so. I'm going to get it sealed as good as possible. You don't want to overheat the stuff because then you really kind of defeat the purpose. The idea here is just to do it enough so that we're not going to have any rub through in this area. Okay, I'm going to trim that down a little bit, and then we're going to work on securing this, just making sure that it's protected as good as possible while it is run, external of the other harness. Okay, I'm going to cut away some of this electrical tape here, and it looks like I'll be able to disassemble the very end portion of this harness here, that protective wrap that they have on it, and insert that new wire in there. It's going to make for a cleaner job and definitely protect it better over the long haul. Because remember, we want this bike to turn out great so I can get a number of good years out of it, and then when I pass it on to somebody else, they're able to enjoy it also trouble-free. It's very important that when you're working on your bike that you keep the future in mind. Don't just try to cut corners to save time today and end up costing yourself precious riding time down the road. So I'm going to go ahead and take this apart here. Clearly see I'm going to be able to easily do that. It's going to allow me to run that wire in here and make for a much cleaner install at the end of the day. All right, I've got it installed. One thing I did do is I took both of the harnesses that come out of the quickshifters, right? I've got them secured to the upper quickshifter. You can see this needs to be tightened. I'm leaving that for my shift rod adjustment. It looks like we're pretty close, but I want to put my boots on and try it, and I recommend you do the same. I then used that wire protector, the stock one. I was able to tuck all of the connectors in there. It took a minute, right? And then the way I routed the wires, you can see it's a good, clean job. I cut this open, right? Took it off, retaped it, retaped around here, and then just to hide that green wire that I didn't feel like cutting open all those harnesses, I literally took a big fat magic marker and I colored the green wire black in that area so you don't see it. Now it's time to take our ECU over to my PC and enable the auto blip feature. Okay, up at the desk, go to the Flash Tune site, ftECU.com. On the left side here, you're going to see a tab, Activation Codes. Click on that, enter your product activation code from the scratch-off card, right? I did that, I pushed enter, and it gives my product serial number. It shows the associated license has not yet been used, and it shows what the product was, a 2015 R1 Auto Blipper. Now, I've got my whole bench tune kit, right? I'm all hooked up, I'm ready to rock. I'm going to plug in my ECU, and now I'm going to open up the ftECU tuning suite. Okay, now activation code done, right? I've got my ECU connected, bench harness. I'm going to come over here, I've got it connected, I've got the suite open. I'm just verifying my settings, disable the damper, disable the X-up. I need to enable my my auto blip, got that. All right, and let's go to device, and let's go right ECU. Come over here, click right ECU. Connect to ECU, turn key on, good to go. Detected license. And now it is writing to the ECU. It's going to take a few minutes for this to get done. When we come back, it'll be over. We'll have disconnected the ECU. We're going to put it on the motorcycle and verify that everything is okay. I'll probably take the bike for a road test around the shop before we load it tomorrow. Okay, ECU has been updated. We're going to go ahead and reinstall it on the motorcycle. And I'm going to do the same thing I did when we flashed it the first time. I want to run the bike, kind of let it go through, a heat cycle. Let's get the fans to come on, all that good stuff. Make sure everything is okay. Then tomorrow, before I load the motorcycle, right, I will just take it for a quick ride around the shop, make sure everything feels good to go. Make sure we're still in neutral. Got no check engine light. Okay, I let the bike warm up, I let the cooling fan cycle, the whole deal, right? Everything looks good. My final step is going to be to take this thing out and test ride it around the shop, right? Of course, not on the streets, just around the shop, and make sure that everything's working okay. I haven't created any new issues for myself. I spoke to the guy at FT ECU at length. I have full confidence this is going to work phenomenal. He raved about it, and obviously he's ridden the motorcycle with the auto blip clutchless downshift feature installed. Look for some follow-up videos. I'm going to take the bike to the racetrack. We're going to ride it, and I'm going to let you know what I thought.